How does losing your partner of over 30 years feel? Country music fans were crushed when Toby Keith died, but his wife, Tricia Lucus, felt it the most. Her silence following his death was long. She has decided to speak up. What has she disclosed, and how will Toby Keith's legacy change? Find out. How does it feel to stand by someone through all odds? Before Toby's recording career and their meeting, Tricia had a normal existence. Managing multiple responsibilities and single-parenting Shelley, she struggled to establish a solid life in Oklahoma. Before meeting her husband in 1981, her life was simple, without paparazzi and cameras. That night changed everything. Tricia encountered a towering man who may have outshone everyone at the club. Besides his height, he had the cutest eyes. His name was Toby Keith. He was nowhere near renowned. After high school, he worked in oil like his father. He said it was difficult, hands-on work, but the pay was great. Toby, 20, made $50,000 each year. It was a lot of money in the 1990s, but it wouldn't make you the world's richest. Toby performed with the Easy Money Band at local bars outside of work. Toby was a master of Alabama-style country rock with his band. Tricia told People magazine in 2001 that she was 19 and he was 20 when they met. She called him one of those confident, larger-than-life guys. It was more than anything. He had no fame, cameras, or chart-topping singles during that time. He had a guitar and a burning desire to succeed at 20. Since Kim had no success in their early relationship, Tricia was never lured by stardom. He made her laugh, worked hard, adopted her daughter, and treated her like his own, making her fall in love with him. Their bond was solidified in 3 years. They survived on low pay and lengthy debates about achieving a seemingly impossible but achievable objective while working nights at the bar, oil field shifts, and bar performances. After marrying in 1984, Toby adopted Shelley and had Crystal and Stelon. It was hard for them. It was far off. Toby played around the States for shows throughout his career, struggling to obtain notice. Tricia managed the household throughout this time. She kept believing in Toby's musical career while paying expenses and raising their children when things got worse. She stayed, even though his fantasy was unlikely to come true. Tricia fell in love with this man and wanted him to win, even though they were broke and Toby had to go across the nation at night. You know, love doesn't pay the bills. How did they survive the years his dream kept him from home, building a family while chasing a dream? Toby Keith and Tricia Lucus danced together as children, but that day created an imprint they would always remember. Toby Keith ignored everything else that night at the bar to find her between the raucous throng and loud music. One dance request started their love story. I liked her, and Tricia felt something. She told People magazine that Keith was one of those life-size individuals who carried himself boldly all night. Toby worked in Oklahoma's oil fields like his father to fund their new life after marriage. His profession was perilous, so much so that he saw a man die on the job. It was consistent money, so he took care of his wife and kids. He also held on to his lifelong dream, music. Though the oil sector collapsed, he didn't give up. Instead, he worked harder. He dedicated himself to his love and started performing in clubs with the Easy Money Band. They usually played for $35 a night with a few free beers, not enough to support a family. Still, he played. Still, Tricia stayed. When their lives were in shambles, she stuck with him despite mounting expenses and creditor calls. Tricia battled for him, not just believed in him. She protected that dream while it was just a glimmer. He'd say, "Trish, my time is coming." Years later, she remembered to persevere. When everyone doubted him, she was there. Even when friends encouraged her to quit, she kept going. Toby remembered plenty of people telling Tricia to advise her old guy to obtain a real job. A strong-hearted and caring woman said, "He's skilled enough at music that I've got to let him attempt, and it'll be a fantastic shot for both of us if he succeeds." Tricia was a believing wife, and she was right. Toby finally became famous. Initial growth was slow. The spotlight fell on him suddenly. After singing for $35 a night, the boy had a $500 million empire. Fame never impacted his love for his family. He loved singing and writing music, but being home with his wife, Tricia, and 3 kids was the greatest. Tricia grounded him, not music, despite his family legacy. She supported him when no one else did, and believed in him when he hardly did. Fame, fortune, and mishaps. Early 1990s improvements began. Toby Keith, who had been scraping by on bar performances and small events, signed with Mercury Records. His debut record was platinum by 1994. His Boomtown and Blue Moon albums were hits. Therefore, it wasn't beginner's luck. Fans adored Who's That Man and Me Too on his albums. He went from playing for free beer to being a country music star. Toby initially didn't want trophies. He got famous in 1997 after recording I'm So Happy I Can't Stop Crying with Sting and receiving a Grammy nomination. Next was How Do You Like Me Now? Everything exploded in 1999. The ACMs honored Keith top male vocalist and the record of the year. 2 years later, Pull My Chain topped the country charts, and he received his first CMA. For Male Vocalist of the Year, a long overdue accolade. While he was at his career peak, things at home were taking a heartbreaking turn. Toby's father died in a vehicle accident in 2001, and months later, he shocked the nation. From that anguish, loss, and wrath came the song courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, The Angry American. It expressed their feelings for many, especially military families. The song launched his first Billboard 200 #1 album, Unleashed. He also collaborated with Willie Nelson on Beer for My Horses. He received several honors and 2 Grammy nominations for the song. Besides being named Academy of Country Music Entertainer of the Year in 2002, he was under other spotlights. After Natalie Maines of the Chicks blasted courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue for making country music appear uneducated, he publicly fought her that year. Toby responded by presenting Maines as Saddam Hussein during his concerts, unlike many other performers. That was one messy fight. Later in 2003, he released Shock and Y'all. The album topped country and pop charts. An American Soldier, I Love This Bar, and Weed with Willie showed his emotional range. He released Honky Tonk University in 2005, featuring Merle Haggard on She Ain't Hooked on Me No More and As Good as I Once Was, which topped the charts for weeks. Later, his song's music video won CMA Music Video of the Year, and his storytelling improved. White Trash with Money, released in 2006, blended classics like Get Drunk and Be Somebody with more reflective tracks like A. The album sold well and was well received. It proved Toby could switch between humor and grief without losing himself. His 2007 USO trip included performances for troops in the Persian Gulf. However, a mortar bombardment forced him to stop mid-show one night. After the danger subsided, he left and finished the performance against a coalition military police officer's recommendation. Motley, a USO World Board of Governors member, said he concluded his show in the verse he was in. The same year, Oklahoma inducted him into its Hall of Fame. He was proud, but his family was also resolving a lengthy, traumatic litigation over his father's deadly accident years earlier. On December 25, 2007, the Colville family received $2.8 million for their father's wrongful death. The disaster was caused by Rodriguez Transports of Tulsa and Republic Western Insurance, cover operators, Elias and Pedro Rodriguez's failure to install air brakes on the bus. In Beer for My Horses, 2008, Toby played a small-town deputy rescuing his kidnapped girlfriend. The screenplay, co-production, and casting of Willie Nelson and Ted Nugent were his, but reviews weren't nice after its release. Variety deemed it revolting, but Toby didn't flinch. Toby sang off-screen. His 2008 album, That Don't Make Me a Bad Guy, topped country charts with hits like God Love Her and Lost You Anyway, and his 2009 America's Toughest Tour toured the U.S. and Europe. He continued to thrive with American Ride in 2009 and Bullets in the Gun in 2010, but Clancy's Tavern in 2011 was different. Made in America was on the record, but Red Solo Cup went viral first. The Warren Brothers and Brett and Jim Beaver's music was a YouTube smash before Toby included it on his CD, making it viral. Toby has fought enough wars. He was winning, but he couldn't fight one battle. After months of silence, Toby revealed his diagnosis in June 2022. He disclosed his false stomach cancer diagnosis. Despite the world's ignorance, he had surgery, 6 months of chemotherapy, and radiation. It was much. Even when he announced his sickness, he sounded cheerful. He looked forward to spending time with his family, but promised to return to his followers shortly. 003008 fans were relieved, and he looked powerful when he spoke with CMT Hot 20 in December. He expressed genuine satisfaction with his rehabilitation. Toby Keith was hopeful. He shared good news in June 2023. He informed the Oklahoman that his tumor had decreased by a third and his body was responding to treatment. It was the finest news ever. They watched and heard about his rise from oilfield youngster to country music star. September felt unique. Toby accepted the Country Music Icon Award at the 2023 People's Choice Country Awards, not just waving and leaving after his speech. He stayed and performed "Don't Let Old Man In." He performed live for the first time since his diagnosis. It was emotional. He showed it in his eyes and speech. He performed 3 nights at Park MGM in Las Vegas in December, and fans knew how special those events were. Despite his apparent resilience, his health slowly declined. In his sleep, Toby died at 62 on February 5, 2024. Just a few months earlier, he appeared to be recovering, so his death was shocking. For fans who have admired Toby's music for decades, the Country Music Association announced his induction into the Hall of Fame on March 18th. Even though he couldn't attend in October, the accolade felt like it came at the appropriate time. Through all of this, it's easy to forget that Toby gave before he got sick. His foundation has helped cancer-stricken children and their families since 2006. He cared, not for fame. That heart, the one that sang through agony and constantly sought something greater, will never leave Toby Keith. However, Tricia's unexpected disclosure following his death will be remembered. When the lights lowered in downtown Nashville's CMA Theater on award night, Tricia's speech was heavy. Toby Keith, John Anderson, and James Burton were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. He should have been on stage, smiling and telling stories to celebrate. Instead, his wife Tricia Lucus stood in. She talked publicly for the first time since his death, after nearly 40 years of being his partner. From that podium, she didn't pretend it was simple. She gazed out at the crowd and whispered, "This is my first time talking." The room seemed to hold its breath with her for a time. Stephen, their son, supported her like Toby. The world learnt in February that Toby died at 62 from stomach cancer. The Hall of Fame vote was made before his death, which many didn't know, but not even he had heard the news. Once the results were confirmed hours after his death, it was too late. He never heard it. Everyone that night acknowledged him properly. Post Malone sang, "I'm just talking about tonight." Eric Church hushed the audience with "Don't Let the Old Man In," and Blake Shelton delivered "I Love This Bar" and "Red Solo Cup." AL's Randy Owen also paid tribute. Nothing compares to Tricia's. She confirmed what many had already said. Toby always pursued his beliefs. After deciding, he did it. He always delivered. She said he loved creating music because it was who he was, not for fame or airplay. His lyrics were raw and genuine, coming from a deep place. Tricia mentioned his People's Choice Country Awards performance, his last. The song he sang that night was written for Clint Eastwood's The Mule, but Tricia said it seemed like Toby's narrative. She informed the audience that her spouse had not committed his life to music. He also helped the OK Kids Chorale in Oklahoma, which housed cancer-stricken families. His many abroad performances for troops, wherever they were. He didn't do it for praise, and he did it because he believed. He took political stands that could have cost him, but he didn't back down. He did what was right to him without caring what others thought. Tricia never wavered when describing Toby at home. Since he was their father and grandfather, they called him Pop Pop, husband, brother, and friend. Toby never needed an authenticity label. He embodied authenticity. Toby Keith is gone forever. Our kids, family, and friends are heartbroken that he's gone. The induction news didn't reach him. I suspect he thought I should have been, in his words. "Toby, we know you know," she concluded with your Country Music Hall of Fame status. Even after his death, Toby Keith was a legend. Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt ordered state flags to fly at half-staff from February 6 to sunset the next day, out of respect. He left a musical and family legacy. Crystal Keith, his daughter, sings professionally and has performed with him, notably at a tribute concert for her father. Shelley Koval Rowland and Stellan Keith Cavell are also his heirs. Do you know Toby Keith and the impact he had on you? Comment on your thoughts. Please like, share, and subscribe if you liked this video. Check out your other videos before leaving.